Hey guys, Brian here with Mana Beast, doing a deck profile on, well, you can probably already notice this isn't Vanguard, this is Dragon Ball Z, and I know I usually do Vanguard stuff, but I have been actually getting into this game the past couple weeks, really enjoying it, so I said, I'm going to do a deck profile on one of my decks. So I know it's not Vanguard related, but you might just watch it, if you don't want to, I understand, but, you might find something interesting here in the game. The personality I'm using is Frieza, whose main ability in the level 1 is when I block or stop an attack, I can raise my anger level by 1 level. So that's the way you get him easily leveled up. His level 2 form is I can discard a card from my hand to perform the last attack your opponent used. Now that attack does deal +2 stages of damage. So this is a way that if I'm trying to get my opponent and I have a lot of defensive cards, I can still attack and I can still do things, even if I don't have attack cards in my hands. His level 3 form is my attacks do +3 stages of damage, and I can also use my level 1 powers. So the level 1 power that allows me to raise my anger every time I block an attack does that here as well. So getting from 1 to 2 is easy. 2 to 3, a little bit more difficult. It's got to take some time. And then getting from 3 to 4 is really pretty simple. And then his 4th level, which is the last one, is power. I can destroy the top 4 life cards of my opponent's life deck, and then I search my life deck for a Frieza named card and place it into my hand. His other effect is Infinity. You may also use your level 2 powers, which the level 2 powers are discard a card to do the same attack that my opponent just did. So he's got some really good flexibility with the deck and just synergizes really well with himself. And the fact that you can use 2 form powers on both his level 3 and his level 4 is kind of cool. So I really like the character. The mastery I'm using is a blue mastery. Now I know black is kind of inherently what people think with Frieza. I used it. I didn't think it was as effective. I think that Frieza's defensive style in both his level 1 and level 3 personality worked better. The first effect here says that my opponent has to reach 6 anger levels before they can advance a personality level versus 5. So this works again really well with my defensive style. I stop them from raising their anger to 5 to advance personality, so I can prevent them from leveling up. This other effect, that's just part of the mastery. Each combat, I can discard an energy combat to block a physical, and I can discard a physical combat to block an energy combat. And also, if I discarded a styles card, which in this one is a blue card, then I can raise my anger or lower my opponent's anger. Of course, I can raise or lower either. I don't know why I'd lower mine, but I can raise or lower any personality's anger. So depending on the situation, it does work really well with my level 1, because if I end up blocking the attack, not only can I raise my anger level through my mastery, I can also raise my anger level through Frieza himself. So I can go up 2 anger levels in just one combat really, really easily, which is nice. Alright, so let's kind of start looking at the basics here. Let's look at the Dragon Balls first. I do, first of all, run Dragon Ball 5. It's a really good Dragon Ball. I think it's a good bread and butter one to have. Essentially, I gain 5 stages, raise my anger level 1, draw a card, rejuvenate 1. Just a lot of really good effects with it. It just hits the field, all that stuff happens. I find it's a really good card to be able to just gain some advantage whenever it comes out. I've never had it out there and didn't want it, so it's a really good card to have in the deck. The other one I run here is Namek Dragon Ball 4. This one's really clutch in my opinion. It allows me to destroy 2 setups or drills. So if I'm just at a point where someone has some annoying setups and some annoying drills, I can pop this onto the field, get rid of those drills real quick, and it helps clear things up for me to be able to advance. The other Dragon Ball I run is Namek Dragon Ball 6. One of my favorite Dragon Balls just because it's a constant effect. My main personality's power-up rating is +3, which really helps me to power up. And then also my opponent's attacks do -2 stages of damage. So kind of 2 things in one here. It helps kind of guard against physical attacks so that I don't take as much damage, and anything that does, at plus anything, it can minimize the damage on that as well. Alright, moving on to events. I run 1, 2. of blue defensive effect. Really good card for a couple reasons. Number one, endurance 6. So if you get hit by a really massive attack and you check this and you're doing like, 6 damage or 7 damage, you hit this, no critical effects go off and you literally banish this card and you've taken all but 1 damage, which is awesome. The other one that I really like about this, lower your opponent's anger 1. Your opponent cannot raise his anger this combat. So against like a Namekian deck or even a Saiyan deck, decks that really feed off of raising and lower their anger, all that play they had that turn is completely dead. You've lowered their anger level by 1 and then they can't do anything. So no matter what they do, if they've rejuvenated with the Namekian, if they have done an attack with Saiyan, their anger doesn't go up at all, and it's just a really good stop card for those big play turns. So you can still defend, you can still raise your anger, but they can't. So it's really, really good card. The other event I run one of, because it's a 1 per deck, is Time's Warrior's Tool. This is I would say a 1 of in every deck. Just power, stops a physical or energy attack, stops all of your opponent's attacks this combat. So it's just a big shutdown card. All your opponent can do now is just defend. They can't attack you any longer. So it's one of those cards that it really is helpful to shut early combat down, and really, really good card. I run 2 blue rest, again for a couple reasons. 1, endurance 2, which is good, and then power, prevent all damage from an attack placed at the bottom of your life deck after use. Now this doesn't stop on hit effects, and this doesn't stop any other effects that go off, but there are a lot of cards out there that don't necessarily have hit effects that I can just say, nope, I just prevent all damage. It's not a guard, but at least I don't take the damage. And it also goes to the bottom of my life deck after use, so it rejuvenates and recycles back in, which is super, super nice. And then I run 3 of the blue shifting maneuvers. I find this card to be really, really good just because it's flexible. It's an endurance 2, and then power stop a physical or energy attack. If your current anger level is 3 or higher, discard after use instead. So since I do get anger if I'm at 3, I can go ahead and discard this instead of banishing it, so I can hopefully rejuvenate it or use it later on down the road. So it's just a good stop all card. Alright, moving on to setups, I've got 1, 2, blue blockade. This card is really nice because I do guard. It's a setup. I can put it out on the field so that I can have guard even if I don't have much in my hand. And it's really helpful too because people know what the deck does. People know what blue does. It gains or lowers angers by blocking attacks. So this card just comes out on the field and people are like, crap. I know he can guard this attack. I know he can stop it. So it also does a little bit of a mind game as well. I only run it at 2. 3 I think is a little too much. 2 is just a nice amount to have there. I do run 3 blue Kai buildup, Kai, key, whatever. It is a setup that is an energy attack costing 2 stages, damage 7 life cards, and lower your opponent's anger 1. This is just, for the cost, is stupid amazing. 2 energy stages, 7 life cards, so we're automatically doing a critical unless they check some endurance, and then you also lower your opponent's anger 1. So, I mean, the flexibility of this, just to have it out on the field, ready to go whenever you need it, is awesome. And what it does in its cost is just, it's too good. So I run that at 3. I do run 1 Dragon Radar, just because it's nice to kind of fish it out of your deck. If you see this, you can set it up, and at any time go ahead and fish a Dragon Ball out, whether I want to have any, whether I'm needing to destroy some drills, whether I'm needing, whatever it is, this gives me the flexibility to be able to just search it out. And then I run 2 of what I feel should be run of 2 of any deck. This is Visiting the Past. This is a limit 2 per deck. It's a setup. Power. When entering combat, search your discard pile for a card and place it into your hand. If you have more than 3 cards in your hand, place a card from your hand at the bottom of my life deck. This card is so amazing for reusing guards, for reusing energy attacks, physical attacks, events. There was a time I was placing it against somebody and they kept attacking me, and they had my hand out there. So what I would do is I kept just refishing out Time as a Warrior's Tool. It's a limit 1 per deck, but since you've discarded it after it's done, you can just fish this back out and have it in your hand. So then your opponent knows you have this in your hand and you can just shut down combat. So again, it's a good mental game, and this card helps you fish those cards that you've used back out. Alright, so let's go on to the drills. I run 1, 2 of the blue mental drill. This is a card that says it's endurance 2, and says pretty much your opponent plays with their hand revealed. So that's a really fun card too, because it's just, all the time I get to see your hand. It helps me decide what I want to attack with and then what I want to guard with, which I think is one of the better cards in the deck. The other drills I'm running here are 1, 2 of blue positioning drill. It just says whenever you stop an attack, place a style card from your discard pile on the top of my life deck. This is helpful if I want a certain card to be coming up, if I want to have one with endurance. It just helps me fish my, discard pile and put something on top, and also helps me to rejuvenate so I don't deck out. Really, really good little drill there. And then 2 blue biting drill. This is a couple nice things. Number 1, your attacks do +2 stages of power, +2 power stages of damage at all times. And when a card effect lowers your opponent's anger, and his anger is already 0, he destroys the top card of his life deck. So a lot of times in this deck, you will have a point where maybe you're at an anger level, or you don't want to advance because you have drills, and your opponent's at 0. Well, this card helps that out, because even if they are at 0, well, who cares? You can still do life card damage, and you can say, well, I'll lower your anger by 1, and then you'll destroy the top life card. So it helps if you are, even if you're doing a critical damage effect, they have nothing else to do but to lower their anger. It's at 0, lower it, and you're going to destroy the top life card. So a really helpful card to get that all set up. Alright, so let's move on here to physical attacks. We're going to do 1, 2, 3 of Blue Betrayal, the most odd art in the entire game. It's just picked like a very awkward scene of Yajirobe biting Krillin in the butt. Yeah. Physical attack damage at stages. Now, I don't really run this for the actual physical attack. I run it for its ability. Banish an opponent's setup, drill, or ally in play. This card is just stupid, because that just happens. It doesn't. I mean, I'd like to hit you, but if I don't, no biggie. Cool. Banish that ally. Banish that setup. Banish that drill. Banish. Not discard. Banish it. That's why this card is just stupid amazing in the deck, just because of its flexibility. I run 1, 2, 3 of blue round throw. I really like this card because of its flexibility. Number 1, this says you can play this card to stop an energy attack instead of as an attack. Now, I realize the Mastery already lets me discard physical cards in order to guard an energy attack, but again, that's once per combat. So if I've already used that, I can still use this as an energy blocker, even though it's a physical attack. Plus, not only that, it's a physical attack that's damage at 5 stages, which is stupid good. Does 5 stages no matter where I'm at, and lower your opponent's anger level 1. I mean, the flexibility of this card, there's 3 effects. It can guard an energy, even if I've used my Mastery. It can do at 5 stages, and it lowers my opponent's anger. Again, I really like flexibility in this deck, so I run very flexible cards. I run 2 of blue Trapped Strike. It's a banish after use, physical attack, damage at 3 stages. If I control a Dragon Ball, this attack stays in to be played a second time this combat, and then raise or lower player's anger 1 level. So again, if I got a Dragon Ball, which most of the time I will, especially with my Dragon Radar, I could do it again, and I could raise my anger level 2, lower theirs 2, or raise my 1, lower yours. I mean, there's the flexibility there is amazing. Plus, it just helps me do multiple attacks. A favorite card of mine. This is just a physical combat. It is at stages, and it's just a just damage 5 life cards. So if it hits, damage 5 life cards. And the other effect is lower your opponent's anger to 0. So it's just a big no. If they're at a high anger level, if they're like at 5 or 4, I can just play this card, 5 life cards if it hits, and you go to 0, no matter what, which I really like. I'm going to run 3 blue lunge. Really good card in my opinion. Endurance 2, physical attack at 5 stages, which is great. And then when you do this, search the top 5 cards of your life deck for a setup or drill and place it into play. Put the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is really helpful too for setting things up if you want to, helps you get extra cards, and you can, do some combos and stuff with it, which is really nice if you get the correct cards. I also run, since this is a Frieza deck, 1, 2, 3 of Frieza's Captive Strike. I don't use this, just like all the Frieza name cards. I'm not going to use this necessarily for its attack. The main thing you want to do is discard this with your Mastery, or just discard it for any other type, because if I discard this from a card effect, I can raise or lower player's anger by 1. And also, since this is in the discard pile, helps with another card we'll talk about later here. I then run 1, 2, 3, Devastating Blow. I really like this card. It is not a style card, I know, but the effect is just so stupid amazing, I run it. 1 physical attack, damage at 1 stage. Nothing big. Then, raise your anger 1 level. Lower your opponent's anger 2 levels. Choose 3 cards from your opponent's discard pile and banish them. I mean, what? Raise 1, lower 2, banish 3, and I get to choose them. So this card puts in a lot of work just because of the effects it has. Again, in this deck, I just like effects that go off. I don't necessarily want to hit. I mean, if I don't, I'm fine, because the effect just goes off and it happens. Alright, moving on to Energy Combat, I'm going to run 1 Blue Terror, which is just a staple card in blue. Essentially 1 per deck, banish after use. It's energy attack costing 2 stages, 3 life cards of damage, and then search my life deck for a non-Dragon Ball card and place it into your hand. So what's nice is it's just a good little energy attack, doesn't do much, but it allows me to fish something out of my deck so I can have it in my hand either for its defense, so I get flexibility. I'm going to run 1, 2, 3 of Blue Defensive Stance. Really good card, even though the deck is defensive with the Mastery. This does a couple things. Stops an energy attack, or I could also discard it with a Mastery to stop a physical attack, and raise or lower a player's anger 1 level. Again, I'm all about manipulating your anger or my anger. This deck is really focused around a lot of that, so you'll notice a lot of those cards. Then I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, Blue Neck Beam. Stupid amazing card. Number 1, if this card is discarded from your hand, from a card's effect, your main personality gains 4 stages. So if I discard this with my Mastery to guard against the physical attack, boom, I go up 4 stages. So it brings me up if I need that. Endurance 1, energy attack costing 2 stages, damage 4 life cards, hit. Raise or lower your opponent's main personality 1 level at the end of combat. So I guarantee you they don't want to let this hit. And it's really great towards an end of a combat phase, because this can really hurt them a lot if they don't guard it. I am also running 1, 2 Blue Narrow Escape. This is Endurance 3, which is great because I like, little endurance. Stop an energy attack. Choose 2 energy combat cards in your discard pile and place them on the top of your life deck. So again, helping to rejuvenate cards on my discard pile, and also to manipulate the top cards that are coming up, so that if I want to have guard, or if I want to have endurance, if I want to have something else for the next round, it's very helpful. I then run 1, 2, 3 Enraged Blast. The main reason I run this card, it is not a styled card, but there's a couple reasons. Number 1, that's 3 stages, 4 life cards, but raise my anger 2 levels. So really, again, for the cost of 3 energy stages, I raise my anger by 2. If I'm at 3, this card is super helpful in combat. I can just raise my anger. Again, all about manipulating anger, all about raising and lower it, so I run that at 3. And the last 3 cards I run are 1, 2, 3 Frieza Supernova, which again is a card if I can get off, which I have a couple times, does stupid damage. An energy attack costing 3 stages, damages 5 life cards, just right off that, plus X life cards. X equals 3 times the number of Frieza named cards in your discard pile. So again, if you discard all those physical attacks that we talked about, the Frieza's Captor Strike, and you have 2 of these in your damage in your discard pile, that's a total of 5 cards. So that is a total altogether of 20 life cards max with this. And if you do things like visiting the past after this is used, you can fish it back out and do it again, and fish it back out and do it again. So I have hit somebody for 20 life cards of damage with this, and yeah, especially with the Frieza level 4, if you have it in your deck, you can fish it out and just keep doing it. It is super, super douchey. So anyway, that is my Dragon Ball Z Frieza deck. I am actually really interested to hear your guys' opinion. If you play Dragon Ball, I really want to know your opinion. What could I change? What can I make better? I'm always for improving the deck. I'm always interested in hearing criticism. So please, tell me what you think of the deck. Tell me what you would change, what your opinion of it is. And yeah, I appreciate you guys for watching. Even if you're not a Dragon Ball Z player, if you're a Vanguard player, thanks for watching. and we'll be having some more Dragon Ball Z profiles. And comment, do you want to see more Dragon Ball Z stuff? Do you want to put that on there? Just let me know down in the comments below. Alright, talk to y'all later.